Shout out to do as we kick things off, but let's first of all introduce our players. To the bottom right hand side, originally when this bracket was played out, TLO was the reason that Bunny fell to the losers bracket. He won this match 2-0 very convincingly. He's the blue Zerg to the lower right side here on Invader. And to the upper right, it's our red Terran player from Team Liquid as well. It is Bunny, who after being knocked to that losers bracket did take a hell of a vengeance streak against Zerg players in the losers bracket. He went through multiple players. I remember Firecake, Hanfi were a couple of them, Elaser as well, and he demolished multiple of these players in literally minutes. He didn't waste any time at all. He was, through one series, through the next series, and the next one, and the next one. It just never ended for him. So it was really, it was quite the run through the losers bracket from Bunny back then. We do have a little bit of a shout out to make as we start up into this TvZ. Root Guy, I'm not sure if he's here right now. If he is, I'm sure he'll say hi. If he isn't, then we'll shout him out again whenever he shows himself in the chat. But Root Guy hit that sub button while we were offline between the attempted cast earlier. I'm not even going to call it a cast of the Do Your Star Masters. Between the attempted cast earlier and now. So thank you very much, Root Guy. Can we get some STI hearts in the chat, please, for our new sub? As we kick things off on Invader, not the most standard of maps to actually play on in terms of what you usually just see in the ladder map pool nowadays. I mean, out of the map pool, we generally see Frozen Temple. We generally see, Frozen Temple, Dusk Towers, Ruins of Endian. Those are the three maps we usually see 9 times out of 10 in the best of 3. Invader is actually one of the less popular ones. I mean, sometimes Prion slips in there. I mean, Invader really is kind of very unpopular, especially in TvZ, I would say. These spawning locations especially are very good for Bunny. They're very good for kind of pushing on, being aggressive on. Horizontal spawns are much better for TLO in the sense that it's a lot harder for Bunny to push and to keep on pushing, although he's a little bit weaker to drops in those sort of positions. So, yeah. I'm just going to be see what Bunny can get up to, though. We'll see what the builds are and see if there's any particular plans for either of these players on this map in particular. So let's see how this is going to go as this Reaper comes in. We're about to see our first action of the game here. I mean, neither player even scouting so far, apart from with a couple of overlords. So this is the first time these two guys are going to really start interacting here. And it's just going to be that classic kind of Reaper on circling action. Reaper going to blow itself up, loves the thrill of being thrown into the air, although maybe not the most efficient way to play with his Reaper early on. From TLO's point of view, well, he stopped mining gas, so it looks as though he wants to head in towards the third base fairly soon with that Zergling speed, as he is actually going to lose a drone. Bunny picks up the kill on that nice and easily, very swiftly. And, yeah, picks up a kill, no problem at all. Reaper backs away, and killing one drone is already more damage than you'd be hoping for with Reaper. I mean, generally, even nowadays, at the very highest level of play, when you're playing TvZ, your Reaper, I mean, oftentimes you're kind of surprised if you get more than 1 or 2 Zerglings. So, yeah, get a drone is really, really nice. A little bit of just a slight delay on TLO, kind of a slight misread on him making the Spore Crawler there to save his Link Speed about to kick in. He's going to use that upgrade timing to safely transfer a drone over to the third base and pop that down. So third base on the way from TLO, no shenanigans from him so far. We're all going to see Bunny. Well, he's going for this build which carried him quite hard, honestly, in the in the previous in the kind of previous rounds of this qualifier. Again, it's quite a long while ago. It's kind of hard to kind of remind you guys of all of that, but yeah, it was a while ago, but he was using this build very effectively. In fact, this qualifier is, I would say, the first time we really saw this build come into light. The very fast double medevac marine drop, where you got 60 marines just moving across the map in 2 medevacs with stim very early in the game, much earlier than usual. So, what we're looking at here, I think, is Bunny just kind of still seeing this build strong. However, TLO, this build isn't kind of as unknown as it used to be when this was first seen as kind of U-thermal, took E-laser down instantly, and obviously people have been using it a little bit, but now it's a very common build to use. I mean, Iger's used it to take down take a map of Violet in the Spring Championship. It's been used a lot, and so TLO, especially getting the scout with the Overlord, should have a very good idea as to what is going on here. He's seen absolutely everything he needs to see to realize exactly what this build is, and he should really know at this point what his counter this is going to be. We've already seen Lings joined up together at the third base. Their medevac's going to load up, get ready to move across and drop. And we'll see the stim pack starting as well here, finishing up for Bunny too. So there's the stim finishing up. The Bane Nest finishes for TLO, so he can start morphing in some base. He doesn't have much gas just yet though, because he just started his +1/+1 upgrades. And is that something that's going to come back to bite him a little bit here? Because does he need more Banelings than what he's got already? It's a very difficult map to kind of deal with this on as well, because Bunny's got 2 different locations he can drop in, either over here or towards the main. And yeah, I just don't think one single Baneling is going to be enough to realistically clean this up. I mean, we're going to see these Marines coming in. They're going to work their way through this Spore Core. Spore Core goes down. Just going to stem backwards here. Baneling gets targeted once again, and Queens continue to drop. Nice control from Bunny, keeping the medevac alive. Losing the medevac is one of the ways in which you can really kind of start losing your kind of potential in this in this drop, because the healing is what is really keeping these Marines here for so long and allowing them to do so much. TLO cleans up, but I wouldn't really like to say that he cleaned up effectively at all. I think he took a lot more damage than he really needed to. A couple more Banelings maybe could have gone a long way. He kills 15 Marines, but loses 2 Queens, 36 Lings. His drone count's been kept relatively low as Bunny now goes into his 3rd CC. Combat shields, double engineering bay as well. I think you just seen that resources lost tab. It has been Bunny who has played a lot more efficiently throughout the game as he loads up another couple of drops, and they're going to move towards the right-hand side of the map. So these couple of medevacs are going to move over to the right-hand side, going to unload and start cleaning up a little bit of the crew spread over here. Just going to be going for that, and I mean, TLO, we've not really seen too much else from him just yet. His upgrade's about to finish. That's one advantage he'll definitely hold throughout the game. His lair is about to finish up, so we're about to start seeing what sort of tech TLO's going into. Obviously, Baneling speed is something we're looking out for, but is he going to drop a Spire? Is he going to look for Mutalisk? Is he just going to go Ling Bane Corruptor, which has been more and more popular lately? There is a lot of different possibilities. As to what is going on here, as we're going to see that Queen just hitting on a couple of these medevacs and pushing them away, and just, again, trying to keep them back. I mean, a little bit of damage here, it all adds up, and eventually you will end up kind of being able to just sort of kill off your opponent, I imagine. Nice spinning connection, actually cleans up that drop. And TLO, the 4th base coming up with the gold. His crew is starting to push out onto the map as well. Obviously, one of the things with this drop as well is if your Queens are pulled back dealing with medevacs and trying to fight medevacs and whatever else, then, yeah, I mean, then basically there's, it just kind of stops the creep spread a little bit and distracts TLO, and there's plenty of reasons for the creep spread not to be as good as it usually is. You see the tanks here starting to clean up. Interesting that he's building tanks against kind of a Ling Bane based composition. Oftentimes nowadays we do see the kind of Ling Bane being the, signifying a switch in towards Widow Mines instead for the Terrans composition, instead of just committing to the siege tanks, because siege tanks, well, are they're not great, but they're they're not, siege tanks, they're not, how do I say this, they're not awful, but they're not great. That's what I want to say. Against kind of a super mobile kind of Mutaling Bane composition. Now, is this going to be Mutaling Bane? If it's Ling Bane Corruptor, it could be very different, although that being said, 2 tanks go down already, but he actually already with a couple of Liberators out too. I really feel when the Spire is this late from TLO, it can't really be Mutalisks, because you're going to be investing into something which is just not going to give you enough value throughout the next state, next minutes of the game. It just doesn't, you can't justify it. When you commit into Mutalisks early in the game, they're going to be up for a long time, they're going to be useful for a long time, you get a lot of return of investment. But at this stage of the game, you're looking to probably hit Ultras in the next few minutes, so the mutas just don't really scale so well, starting to mill them so late on. You just don't get that value out of them that you do early, as we're going to see this drop. Well, it's going to look to hit this gold base. It's going to take down that Spore Core to begin with, and make sure the medevac's nice and safe. A couple of drones going to go down. Bunny picking up 5 workers here, and just starting to work his way through this hatchery. Lift goes to the high ground. This is a really nice little position here for Bunny to work with, being able to just lift and load, or unload, kind of up on the high ground. I love that as well. And those 2 Marines and 2 Banelings just roll on into them one at a time, so really inefficient trades there by TLO once again. And Bunny continues to impress me with how efficiently he's trading throughout the game. Just small little drops, which aren't really necessarily going to win in a big straight-up fight, but can definitely kind of make something happen, as now we see him pushing across with a whole bunch more Marines. You see a Liberator in the back has actually picked off a couple of Banelings already, and some Morphin Banelings, but he deals with that first attack no problem, and just look at the supply advantage he holds. 151 to 116. He's pushing this 4th base, and I don't think this 4th base is going to survive very long at all. I think this gold base is gone. TLO pulls his drones away to the bottom left. I mean, there's nowhere they can really go from there, so they're kind of just stuck as well. And I mean, you might not think this Liberator really has kind of too much use, but it actually picked off 3-4 Banelings. I mean, 2 morphed in, 2 morphing in. I mean, it adds up. It's less and less splash damage for TLO to work with when he actually has to try and defend the push. And in these positions as well, very easy for Bunny to pull back and defend against a little bit of a counterattack like this. However, not if he throws away a lot of his units. And Bunny, his macro is starting to slip a bit too. Lots of money in the bank, as this counterattack from TLO has a lot of potential. I mean, 8 workers killed. And it's just continuing to happen here. His 2-2 upgrades obviously also helping out a lot in this as he comes in. Is he going to be able to clean up these Marines and continue this attack here? Well, I mean, right now it looks as though he probably will be. Nice Bunny pulling away in towards that little gap in the minerals to minimize that surface area, helping him kind of trade here and survive on the 5th base for as long as possible. Wow, TLO is getting so much done with this counterattack. It's amazing, considering he just lost his 4th base, his gold, and so much, so much mining and so on. There's one counterattack. Bunny is really going to be kicking himself for just letting his minerals slip and just not making as much as he could have. I mean, TLO's still here for these Zerglings. He's still not ahead in supply, but he is now ahead in workers, which is something he's been struggling with as well throughout the game. So TLO find himself advantages to work with here. And, yeah, we're just going to be seeing the Lings just pulling back on towards the creep spread once again. 26 workers killed then, as TLO will now take a bit of a breather. He's got a lot of gas in the bank to work with now as well. And, I mean, obviously losing his 4th base isn't ideal, but, you know, doing so much damage to the 3rd base of Bunny, getting so many SCV kills, really does slow Bunny down a lot, and it really makes Bunny defend for a while. He lost a lot of Marines and so on as well. And look at that resources lost. That just tells you, I mean, we were talking about it earlier, Bunny was 2,000 resources lost ahead. Now it's dead even, so that, you know, that counterattack from TLO really brought him back into this. However, now Bunny's turned to counterattack, and he's going to get this gold base again, it seems. However, once again, TLO sticks with the counterattacks. He doesn't have Balins ready, so he just streams on in. These Zerglings looking for more SCV kills. Tank in the back, love that position. That's a really nice way to protect the 3rd base, as Bunny isn't going to give up pushing either, though. He's just going to come into position and probably push this high ground. Tanks on the low ground to support. This is very dangerous. We're going to see Corruptors try and do some damage as well. Bunker up the natural, coming in useful as built very early in this game to help deal with any initial Zerglings. As Balins are here ready to go to the connect before the tanks get them. Well, a few of them do. We're going to see the Medivacs boosting back, and well, some Lings on these tanks. 2 of the tanks go down. 1 survives into the high ground. One last Balin trying to roll forwards, gets blown by the tank though before anything else can happen. Bunny not minding from a 3rd base yet, as we see more Lings streaming in. These Corruptors are starting to take down the Medivacs. TLO continue to just try and defend, but just doesn't quite have enough to push this army away. He's killing off the Medivac, sure, but he can't deal with the Marines on the ground still, as Bunny pushes across once again. And all said and done, I think in the end, Bunny just has a little bit too much army supply. Did lose a lot of mining, but kept enough mining alive, obviously, just to pull, you know, just to keep his advantage. And just again, once he cleaned up the first counterattack, attacks again, and this time TLO really doesn't have much at all. As we're going to see Ling's Bane streaming on in, rolling on forwards, looking to see what they can do. I mean, not really enough when Marines are streaming across the map 1-2 at a time, and I mean, very quickly 1-2 at a time. When I say 1-2 at a time, I mean there's like tens of them across the map. It's just they're coming to game number 2 of this best of 3. So the upper left-hand side of the map is going to be our red Zerg player from Team Liquid. It's going to be TLO. And down to the lower right-hand side is going to be our blue Terran player, also from Team Liquid. Let's hear it if you're cheering on Bunny. So, as Von Schleyer hits us off into this game with a 2-month resub, can we get some SI hearts in the chat, please, for Von Schleyer? Thank you very much for the 2-month resub. Welcome back for your second month. That's crazy. 2-month resub. It feels like you've been subscribed for years. It's wow. This past month was I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know at all. Crazy. All right. Thank you very much for the 2-month resub. Let's get them hearts in the chat. You guys are already on top of that. Nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. Alright, game number 2 here is going to go pretty much the same way in the very early stages. We're going to see Bunny just with the Rax gas. We're looking for Reaper to come out here. We're going to be seeing the Zerg player TLO just go and hatch gas pool and set up and into this in the next few moments. As this SCV just going to sit on the low ground, going to start that CC, and we'll just be waiting for this Reaper to come across here on Frozen Temple. Now, Frozen Temple is the map of counterattacks currently in the map pool. I mean, this is the map where basically, it's, you know, there's 3 major pathways, and it's very difficult to cover all the major pathways, especially against someone who has Lings who hit so quickly. And because it's fairly small as well, there's multiple pathways that you can access quickly, and you can get along very quickly as well. So counterattacks are very prevalent in this map, and especially this matchup, ZVT. And so things like, you know, walling off your 3rd base over here, and then just sort of focusing your army in this sort of location. But it's still very difficult because, I mean, a Zerg can come up this direction, they can break through the rocks down here, come straight through the center, can come from the right-hand side. There's so many different ways for them to attack from. So that's something you got to kind of be very careful of as a Terran player. And as a Zerg too, I mean, you need creep along all of those different pathways. Without creep along all of them, you very quickly find yourself in a bit of a troubling situation where you're not seeing where the Terran army is moving, you're not in position in time, your 4th base taking a lot of damage before you can even get in position and stuff like that. So that's always good, as we're just going to see the Reaper picking off a couple of Lings. And just going to be seeing this Reaper just pop up to the high ground for a couple of moments here. So Reaper just popping up to the high ground. Drone going to start taking a couple of shots of damage. There's these couple of Zerglings coming on in, chasing that SCV. SCV going to survive though. Nice play by Bunny. I mean, it's not really that hard, but I mean, it's nice. It's the right thing to do, as we see just I mean, same build. This is the thing. If this build is so good that it's just becomes so popular, because even if you don't do damage necessarily, the reason you haven't done damage is most likely because you forced a lot of units at your opponent, so you're still slowing down the drone count. And the thing is, especially if you're like a drop-heavy player, then you can move around all over the place and look for drops here, drops there. You can really look to get a lot more damage done as a Terran player, kind of playing this sort of map. As really nice grenade. Slows those lings down. Is the Reaper going to get away? It's going to be very close. He does. Really, really cute little play. Once again, really, the grenade placement was everything. Just delaying those Zerglings by just a split second just stops him from taking that final hit, which would have killed him off. So, nice little thing as we see Bunny just factory about to finish reactor, finishes his wall as well. When I play this build, one of the things I get very scared of is whenever they just make a whole bunch of Zerglings to try and attack it, early in the game, like if they make 10, 12 Zerglings and all I have is like 6 Marines, it can become very troubling very quickly. So that's something to kind of, that bunker is very important, just to make sure you're safe in the wall as well. It's a little bit harder to do this build on maps like Ruins of Endian, for example, because you just don't, there's just such a large ramp to wall that it's very, very difficult. You need a bunker very early and that sort of thing, so we're just going to be seeing single Zergling there goes down to the Marine in the bunker, and we'll see this overall try scout. And again, I mean, even though he doesn't necessarily see all of the buildings, he has a pretty good scout. He actually sees the stim, so I mean, I think seeing that many Marines, he has a pretty good idea that this is more of the same as what he just played against. See Bunny lifted up. There's a couple of Marines shy of what he had last time around as he moves across here. We'll be unloading over here. And, well, I mean, TLO right now doesn't have a lot. He's got 11 Lings, 6 more on the way. 17 Zerglings isn't really ideal. His Baneling nest is up. He's going to start opening 3 Banelings. I mean, the supply block's what really has been really hurting him here. He's supply blocked for a little while, and all these Marines, here he goes, stimming forwards again. Then a couple of Banelings is going to be very important to try and shut those down. I mean, even just target firing them as they run in is very possible here. But Bunny has, again, them Queens though. Getting a lot of damage done. Oh, Baneling off onto the Reaper, a little bit of a waste there, not ideal. There's Bunny, targets down one Baneling, the other he tries to get. Not quite there though, and again, that medevac being targeted is the real kind of downfall of this. You've got to be so careful with those medevacs and pulling them away, making sure they don't die. Because if you keep them alive, remember, it becomes a drop that you now have on the map to utilize and to pull the Zerg apart with, and that's one of the strengths of this build as well. It doesn't just do, it's not just one attack, and if your opponent can defend it, that's great. It's got mobility, it's got, it's got a lot of effectiveness throughout the next moments of the game. As we're going to be seeing the Marines just pulling backwards a little bit there. I'm just going to be seeing the Marines loading up in towards the medevac and just pulling away. And again, just, finding cute little locations where you can unload, heal up a little bit, do a little bit of damage, take a watchtower, little bits and pieces here as Bunny. A couple more medevac startups, so looking once again towards kind of a very similar sort of playstyle. I mean, he's got a couple more medevacs, so you can send out another drop once again. He's got a few tanks on the way out, so playing tank heavy in the early game. I'm intrigued to see how that develops once more. I mean, we saw him stick around with kind of tanks throughout the entirety of the last game. We'll see if it's any different this time around. I mean, TLO is once again on a fairly late lair here. We're talking about Aspire not really being ready until after the 8-minute mark, so it's again a late Spire, and last time he did go into some Corruptors just straight away, and I really feel as though once again that's probably what we're looking for here. What else is there to really do other than to go, again, Mutalisks at this sort of stage, you just don't get that value out of them that you're looking for when you invest into Mutalisks. I mean, yeah, Mutas are still a great addition to the composition, but it just slows down the Ultras, and you don't gain a lot from them. And it's, Corruptors, well, they have, you may think, well, what do Corruptors do? Well, Corruptors are just so much more kind of durable against Liberators especially, so it actually almost sort of sets you up to go later game with your Ultras as well. You've got a way to protect against the first Liberators of your opponent as well. As we're going to be seeing these Marines unloading, and just a couple of Lings taking a little bit of damage here and there, pulling back. More Lings starting to go down as, ooh, them Banelings. And I like this once again by Bunny, just dropping these Marines off one at a time. I mean, it's pretty effective. Lifts back up at the very end there before he loses any more Marines. So just lifts up once again, moves over to the right-hand side, and going to unload once more. So some Marines just going to sit over to the right. We're going to see a couple of tanks unsieging. Everything just going to join up together here from Bunny, and look to see what's... yeah, he's just going to go for a little bit of a push, which is... well, I mean, we'll see what he can get done with it. What I do like about TLO did is he did make sure he took these rocks down. So there's no way Bunny can, like, siege up tanks behind, for example, let's go over here to just say it. There's no way you can siege up tanks behind these rocks and then drop the Marines on the other side. That'd be very deadly. And there's them counterattacks starting to come into play. TLO straight down the left side of the map when he sees Bunny's moving out. And his third base instantly, Bunny kind of just pulling away in towards his natural expansion. Lots of Marines here. He's got a bunker too. But again, 5 SCVs lost, and pulling away from his base is never a good thing. As he stims on in though, this 4th base of TLO might also be in a little bit of trouble here. So once again, these guys, I mean, they're both basically saying, like, straight up fight, no thanks. I'll just take a, I'll just counter-attack, or attack where your main army isn't. TLO's trying to pull this off, trying to defend against this. Queen's coming forward, and they're targeting down Medivacs once again. Medivacs are falling, and TLO is so close to making a hold. He just doesn't quite have enough on the ground, and almost feels as though he was just a little bit out of sync with all of his units coming in at different times. You know, he came in over here first, then from this angle, then very late on, Zerglings came back from the 3rd base up the right side of the map. If everything was just synced together a little bit more cleanly, that might very well have been a hold. I mean, he kind of holds anyway. I mean, he holds his 4th base, but he would have much more easily been able to push that back and maybe a little bit more efficiently as well. Some Zerglings just going to be coming through the center of the map. TLO once again just looking to see if he's got contact potential. Sees Bunny's army's already back at home. May die for the base. I mean, if he kills the 4th CC, I mean, obviously that does slow Bunny down. Bunny cancels that in the end. And well, I mean, for one Zergling, cancelling the 4th CC is definitely worthwhile. As TLO again utilizing both kind of attack pathways here on Frozen Temple. Again, a very common thing to do, a very powerful thing to do. We'll see how it continues here. I just realized I don't have the HomeStory Cup overlays on, which is a huge fail on my part. We'll sort that out after this game. But that is a bit of a failure for me, as we're going to see these Marines. Just, all the thing is turning forwards, I mean, once again, run by over here, I love that bunker. That bunker's actually a bit of a savior. I mean, it's going to completely deflect this run by for now, so... I mean, TLO, his run by is deflected, but he still has it as a way to kind of flank with as well, so... I mean, it's nice, and that's the power of this map. You can kind of rotate your run-by around into the kind of alley which your opponent's attacking in, and all of a sudden it's not just a run-by, it's kind of a flanking force instead, and so you're attacking from multiple angles. You stoke a few tank shots to get them Balins get a little bit closer. Here we go, running in, and Lings come in from the back, and, well, they kind of die very quickly to these Marines. As the Queens come forward, trying to get them Liberators, but not really successful, as Bunny is once again just having so much of an army. And looking very, very good as he continues to kind of just push forwards. Tanks, Liberators, both supporting this push up the right-hand side of the map. Marines continue to trade against Queens and more as well. More Balins finish morphing in. Another scan. Just identifying what is here. Nice kind of counter-attack from the right-left side from the Balins. Nice flank once again, but TLO's units, there's just not enough of them. The sheer number of Marines is just killing everything before, you know, anything, before they die. Marines DPS is pretty good as we see him stimming forwards, and Bunny looks as though he might take the 2-0. Move one map away from qualifying for the HomeStory Cup 13. As we're going to see him, I mean, he loses all his Medivacs in the end. He's going to stim once again. These Bane's about to pop. Bunny going to play super kind of proximity Baneland split Marine split challenge. As he kills off so much anyway, though. I mean, all these Corruptors have gone down. I mean, you may think, well, Corruptors are great, but I mean, they're a big part. There's a reason they invest into them. I mean, it allows you to kind of pick off the Medivacs, and so now Bunny can remake his Medivacs safely and know that they're not really in any trouble at all. As we're just going to see these Marines stimming forwards once again, just going to attack on in towards this 4th base. Again, there's really very little for TLO to do. Again, nice potential counterattack, but Bunny is prepared. Bunker in each base. I mean, time to time he keeps losing this 4th CC, but he's now killed the 4th base of his opponent, and even if he loses it again here, which he shouldn't, because it's going to finish and he can lift, he's going to be able to deflect it and run by as well. So, I mean, he's again just keeping himself ahead. I feel as though if he lost it that time, he would have probably sent his main base over to the 4th. And just mine from that instead, because he's more or less mined out over here. He's got like 200 minerals left at most, so he's more or less mined out over here. Not a lot more to gain. Also going to see these Marines. And these couple of Medivacs just coming over to the left-hand side. This 4th base for Bunny. And it's of course now been established in a planetary fortress, so another target for TLO, but a planetary fortress is not easy to break down with just a very quick kind of standard Zergling run by. And it's just going to be seeing these things just again trying to run by. I mean, trying to do what's been working, but just hasn't, doesn't have the chance here. These Marines kind of oddly randomly kind of just rallied up to the right. Might work out. Just a bit of a stim in, cancel his 4th base. Oftentimes, what looks like a mistake can often be used to your advantage, and that's something which Bunny is going to be able to do there if he realizes those Marines are nearby. He's going to see again another run by. Bunker's still in the back. These couple of tanks going to get surrounded. I mean, here's the thing though, Bunny just has so much. He's pushing in once again. There should be a stim to kind of help him out against all of these bases and so on. I mean, even the front row of Marines doesn't end up going down. TLO, looking as though he's going to be 2-0 here. Looking as though Bunny is going to be moving into the qualifying match of the HomeStory Cup 13 qualifier.